And we are back. Welcome back to the Premier League prediction series once again. The emotions are still pretty raw from last night. Basically, I did my mini meltdown to the Manchester United-Chelsea game, which you can check out right here. I then immediately went to bed angry, and I've got up this morning, and here I am doing these predictions straight away. So, as I say, emotions are still a little bit raw from last night. But hey-ho, we move on. It's another game week straight away, and it is another massive game week with all three of the title contenders in tough away games this weekend. So as always, before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We're just a couple of subscribers away from 1,900 as we pursue 2,000 subscribers now before the end of the season. And don't forget that Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League predictions will be returning to the channel in the next couple of days as well. So make sure you also hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming uploads. And yeah, without any further ado, let's get straight into it. It is time for Game Week 32. And we start off with one of those title contenders, Manchester City, travelling to their bogey team, Crystal Palace. As we all know, Manchester City always tend to slip up against Crystal Palace. And of course, they already have done this season, drawing 2-2 at home to Palace at Christmas. So not going to be easy for them. Massive debate that needs to be had at the moment is, are Manchester City a better team without Erling Haaland? I said it a few times last season. It's not really cropped up as much this season, but in the last couple of weeks, the 0-0 draw with Arsenal where Haaland was compared to a League 2 striker, and then they bring Julian Alvarez back in against Aston Villa, and they absolutely blew Aston Villa away, albeit due to a Phil Foden hat-trick. Not so much to do with Julian Alvarez, but I just think the style of play still looks better with Haaland missing, although I think most people would expect Haaland to come back into the team for this game. Crystal Palace, of course, still playing some relatively good stuff at the moment, but I think in terms of their bid for survival, I think they've probably already done enough now to make sure that they are safe. So pressure's going to be off. Will that make them play better? Will that make them play a little bit more relaxed? We shall see. I think the expectation has to be that Manchester City, off the back of that Aston Villa performance, are going to continue to drive on. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Manchester City in that one. But we'll see. Like I say, Palace are a bit of a bogey team for them. Moving on to the 3 o'clock kickoffs, and we start off with Manchester City's victims from the midweek fixtures. That is Aston Villa. They'll be looking to bounce back against the Brentford team that, again, form is a bit mixed. Obviously, the incredible performance against Manchester United that almost resulted in a loss. They played again well in midweek, but I don't know. It's just a bit of a weird one, this. Aston Villa and Brentford. I think at home, Aston Villa have been so good this season. Yes, they've had a few blips over the last couple of months at home, but like I said, they'll be looking to bounce back from the game against Manchester City. They cannot afford to slip up in their respective race for the top 4 and the Champions League. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be quite an open game. It's unclear if Martinez is going to be back in goal for them, and I think Olsen is just not quite on that same sort of level, in my opinion, and that could make the difference. But I am still going to go for a Villa win. I'm going to go for 3-2 to Aston Villa. Next up is a massive game in the relegation fight. It is Everton at home to Burnley. Now, Everton have not won a game since they won at Turf Moor earlier in the season. That was on the 16th of December. This game will be taking place on the 6th of April. So almost 4 months since Everton have won a game in the Premier League. And look, Burnley haven't lost in their last 4 either. So they're definitely going to be well up for this. I think there's a lot of pressure on Everton to perform in this. And if Burnley can keep up their form, they might just be the team that could catch Everton if this fixture doesn't go their way. So I'm not convinced Everton are going to win this. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. As always, let me know your thoughts on that one down in the comments. I think this is a really, really tight game to call. I think if Everton win it, that will probably secure Everton's survival and condemn Burnley's relegation. But again, any result in Burnley's favour will just open the door that little bit more. Next up, it's Fulham taking on Newcastle. Now, Fulham, how you can go from the performances that they showed against Manchester United and against Tottenham to the performances you saw against Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest, I don't really know. But their form right now is right down at the bottom again. So I look at this fixture, I look at a Newcastle side that are going to be full of confidence given their last 2 performances, despite all of their injuries. And I can't go for anything other than a 2-1 win for Newcastle. I mean, I could go for a different scoreline in favour of Newcastle. But for me, I think this is Newcastle's game to lose now. Fulham are massively off it. Newcastle seem to be back on it. So I'm going to go for 2-1 to Newcastle. That then brings us to another massive relegation fixture. It is Luton Town taking on Bournemouth, where revenge must be on the minds of Luton Town. They cannot afford to have another bad result against Bournemouth after what happened in the 3-0 capitulation in that second half that ended up being 4-3 to Bournemouth. Luton now have not won a game in their last 10. They finally failed to not score against Arsenal. Granted, Arsenal are the best team defensively this season, but it was the first game that Luton have failed to score in a long, long while. So going into this game against Bournemouth, I think Luton's confidence is really going to be as low as it can be, but they have to believe that this is an opportunity to put right their biggest mistake so far this season. I just don't see it being enough. I think, again, they've got too many injuries. Bournemouth still playing very, very well. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Maybe that's that little bit of Luton bias still sticking in my head. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I can see this one having a lot of goals in it, but I just don't think Luton are going to get the win. And unfortunately, it's looking more and more like relegation for Luton Town at the moment. That then brings us to Wolves and West Ham. And again, really tough one to call. Obviously, we've spoken about Wolves a lot recently, that they have been struggling more since they lost Neto and Cunha. And they've still been playing well, but the results just haven't really been there for them recently. West Ham, on the other hand, have been playing much better, but again, haven't quite got the results they probably feel like they deserve. So when you put that together, this makes it a really, really tough fixture to call. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I was really, really tempted to go for West Ham. In my head, I think West Ham should be considered the favourites for this one. But I just don't quite think they're going to have enough to beat Wolves on the night. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in that one. That then brings us to the final game on Saturday, which is, of course, Brighton and Hove Albion taking on Arsenal. Now, Arsenal played a very weakened team against Luton and were still able to get the 2-0 win, although their performance wasn't particularly great. But like I said, they did make a lot of changes. I believe the expectation is at least some of those players will be back. If not, they will definitely be back for Bayern Munich in midweek. And the question, of course, has to be about Arsenal's priorities. Is it to give it absolutely everything in this game and potentially risk losing to Bayern Munich, since that in theory is a much harder game in a much harder competition? Or is the priority to say we're a little bit further behind Liverpool than we'd like to be right now? We think we can beat Bayern Munich, so we're going to be a little bit more cautious in this game, and then we'll see how good we are against Bayern. It's a big toss-up. Obviously, I think they'll give it full hammer on tongue in both games, but it could be a really, really tough one and could be a real banana skin for Arsenal. Brighton, of course, are playing much better football again at the moment. They put on a fantastic performance at Anfield last week, and I can see Brighton getting a result in this. I really can. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I just think Brighton are going to get something. And I know the Arsenal fans will be in the comments giving it at me like they always do. I've gone for 4 draws already, by the way, this weekend. It's a really, really tough set of fixtures, this. But that's just the way I see it. I think, again, Arsenal should be considered the favourites. But I can see Brighton getting something from this game. I really can. That then brings us to Sunday. And Manchester United taking on Liverpool for the second time in 3 weeks. And if you'd have said to me, off the back of the performance in the FA Cup, that we would be even less likely to beat Liverpool in this game, I'd have said, what went wrong? Because we were very good in the first half against Liverpool in the FA Cup. We were shocking in the second half, but we got the late equaliser and we were brilliant in extra time and we got the win. So you'd think, off the back of that, we'd be more likely to beat Liverpool in this game, not less. But we are less likely to win this game, because Liverpool have continued to play very well in their games since. And Manchester United were shocking against Brentford. And they were absolutely, I don't want to say robbed last night. They played well last night, but they threw the game away. Through many reasons. Again, check out my reaction last night. But they threw the game away. And they gave away too many chances in that midfield again. And I just think with the way Liverpool's midfield are playing at the moment, Szoboszlai, McAllister in particular, I just think Liverpool are going to win. And it could be an absolute humiliation once again. Manchester United are only going to have Cambuala and Maguire fit defensively at centre-half for this game. It looks like those are going to be the only two available centre-backs. So we could be in real trouble. I'm going to go for 4-2 to Liverpool. I still think Manchester United will score goals because Liverpool will leave themselves open like they always do. And I think we have the quality to still score goals if we hit them, like we did against Chelsea last night. We proved that we got the quality to score goals. But we won't keep Liverpool out as often as we'll score. So I've got to go for 4-2 to Liverpool. It could be a humiliation. It could be 5 or 6 if we play as poorly in midfield as we have the last couple of games. So I'm going for a Liverpool win. That's just the way I see it. As soon as that game's finished, the Sheffield United-Chelsea game will already be underway. I think even after last night, the way Sheffield United have played the last couple of games, I think they're capable of getting a result against Chelsea, but Sheffield United just aren't getting results. And I'm going to go 2-1 to Chelsea. I think it's going to be a really tough game for them. I think you've got to look again at the Burnley performance. You've also got to look at the performance against Manchester United last night and look at the amount of chances they gave Manchester United and say that Sheffield United have been scoring goals recently. So they're definitely going to have chances against Chelsea. But I think in the end, with the amount of chances Sheffield United give away, Chelsea will end up coming out on top. And then finally, the game that has been moved to Sunday night at 6 o'clock. It is Tottenham taking on Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest, of course, great 3-1 win for them against Fulham, which has pushed them back above the relegation zone once again. Tough trip for them to go to Tottenham, Nuno's former club, of course. I think we would all expect Tottenham to win this one. I think it's going to be a relatively tight affair, but I think Tottenham should have that little bit of extra quality. So I'm going to go for 3-1 to Spurs. I think that's about right. I can see Nottingham Forest definitely scoring the way Spurs allow that sort of space in behind. And again, with the likes of Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi, Chris Wood, the form he's in at the moment, they'll definitely get a goal against Tottenham. But I think in the end, 3-1 to Tottenham is about right. And that is going to be it. As always, let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments section below. A massive, massive weekend, as always, as every single game week is now for the rest of the season. Let me know all of your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching, as always. I'll be back with my reaction to the Manchester United-Liverpool game, however good or badly that goes. And then Champions League predictions, once again, will be up on Monday. So I'll see you there.